1.2 billion. That's the number we need, and I'll tell you why in this video. You probably know about the legends of Vox Machina, so I'm not going to take a lot of time explaining it. Created by Critical Role, this project started in 2019 as a Kickstarter. It was supposed to be a small 30-minute animation that quickly blossomed into something much bigger. After more than $11 million were raised, Amazon picked up the show and then is funding a second season. This is a landmark event not just for Critical Role or Dungeons & Dragons, but the entire fantasy genre. Because you see, fantasy's history has been long and at times lackluster. Fantasy was primarily a B-movie genre until Peter Jackson made Lord of the Rings. Fantasy wasn't considered viable on TV until Game of Thrones. But after Game of Thrones' fall, things are tense in the fantasy genre. I'm going to be honest, there have been lots of failure to lackluster fantasy lately, and adult fantasy animation hasn't been nearly as supported as any other form of the fantasy genre. And what's worse, Hollywood just doesn't believe in Dungeons & Dragons as a viable means of creating movies, TV shows, animated series. Look, in interviews, Critical Role has said that Amazon was the only one that even gave them a shot after $11 million were raised and 88,887 backers contributed to the project. It is important to make adult, high-quality fantasy animation quote-unquote viable in Hollywood. The same way Lord of the Rings did for the fantasy genre, or Star Wars for sci-fi, Deadpool for rated R superhero movies. And you know what, this is important for all D&D streaming shows, from Dimension 20, The Adventure Zone, Heralds of Waynar, or anybody else who's streaming. The success of Vox Machina opens a door for everybody. It's also huge for Wizards of the Coast, because while Stranger Things introduced D&D to the mass audience, it's not a show built around Dungeons & Dragons like The Legend of Vox Machina is. Therefore, if this show is successful, it can even further catapult D&D into the public sphere. So basically, this show has to succeed. There is a lot riding on the Legends of Vox Machina. It goes beyond any particular fandom or even medium. And that's where 1.2 billion comes in. But what is 1.2 billion? Well, it's the record for the most hours of a show watched during its first week on Amazon Prime, and it was recently captured by the new show Wheel of Time. And you know what? We need to break it. The Legend of Vox Machina needs to set the record for the most number of minutes watched in its first week, because this is what companies pay attention to. In order to do this, we need millions of views, like 25 million views, at least if people are watching the first 3 episodes. And so that's the point of this video. Watch The Legend of Vox Machina as much as you can, put it on a loop, have all your friends watch it. Show them this video if they're fantasy fans and need some more convincing. Honestly, I don't care if you don't like Critical Role, I think this is honestly beyond that at this point. Huge success here means great things for the fantasy genre. And not just for streamed D&D, this is an entry point to maybe other adult animated fantasy series. I want to see authors like Brandon Sanderson or Joe Abercrombie get their series animated. Because honestly, I don't think a film would do them justice. They need to be animated in a show. We need 25 million total views. And so, let's break records. Fans of the fantasy genre have done crazier things before. So it's time to band together and do this incredible thing. Let's put adult fantasy animation into the mainstream consumer audience. And you know what? I'll up the ante. If Vox Machina breaks the record for the total number of minutes watched in its first week, I will donate to a charity of the comment section's choice, and I will donate $500 to whatever you guys comment. Whichever the top one is, that's the one I'm donating to. So comment and share what charity you'd like me to donate to. And share this video around with everyone so that we can get everyone united in this goal. 1.3 billion in minutes watched. That's what we need to get to. And you know what? I think we can do it. Now, if you want more Critical Role content, check out this playlist right here, and thank you for entering the dungeon. And remember, support Vox Machina.